What happens when a beloved Hollywood star sits down for what should be a simple morning interview and gets blindsided by a host with an agenda? In just 38 seconds, everything fell apart. The cameras were rolling, millions were watching, and Sam Champion was about to make the biggest mistake of his career. Good Morning America was supposed to be the friendly face of morning television, the kind of show where celebrities came to laugh, share stories about their latest projects, eat and sip coffee while America got ready for work. But on this particular morning, something was different. The energy in the studio felt tense from the moment Mark Wahlberg walked onto that iconic set in Times Square. Mark had been making the rounds promoting his newest action film. He'd done the late-night circuit, the radio shows, all the usual stops. Good Morning America was meant to be an easy one. A quick chat, some clips from the movie, maybe a story about his kids. Standard stuff. He settled into the bright orange couch, the studio lights hot against his face, and waited for the segment to begin. Sam Champion sat across from him, notes in hand. Robin Roberts and George Stephanopoulos flanked the set, ready to jump in with their own questions. Lara Spencer stood off to the side near the weather wall, watching. Everything seemed normal. Professional. Routine. "Welcome back," Sam said as they came back from commercial. "We're here with Mark Wahlberg, he's star of the new thriller that everyone's talking about. Mark, thanks for being here." "Thanks for having me," Mark replied, flashing that trademark smile. "Happy to be here." Sam didn't return the smile. Instead, he leaned forward, his expression hardening. "So, Mark, before we talk about the movie, I think we need to address something. There's been a lot of talk about your past, about some of the incidents from when you were younger." The studio went quiet. So Robin and George exchanged glances. This wasn't in the pre-interview. This wasn't what they'd discussed in the production meeting. Mark's smile faded. "I've been very open about my past," he said carefully. "I've talked about it many times. I made mistakes as a kid. I've owned up to them. And I've spent my life trying to be better." "But have you really?" Sam pressed, his voice taking on an edge. "Because it seems like you just say the right things when you need to. And then you move on. You make your millions. You live in your mansion, and the people you hurt, they're still dealing with what you did." Robin shifted uncomfortably in her seat. "Sam," she started, but he held up a hand. "No, Robin, I think this is important. I think our viewers deserve to know who they're supporting when they buy a ticket to his movies." Mark's jaw clenched. You could see him trying to stay calm, trying to keep his composure. "I don't know what you want me to say that I haven't already said. I was a troubled kid from a rough neighborhood. I did things I'm not proud of. I've apologized, I've tried to make amends, and I've dedicated my life to being a better person. If that's not enough for you, I don't know what is." "It's not about what's enough for me," Sam shot back. "It's about accountability. It's about privilege. You gotta walk away from your past and become a movie star. Not everyone gets that chance." Mark leaned back slightly, his eyes narrowing. "Not everyone gets that chance. Sam, do you have any idea what I've been through? Do you know what it's like to grow up in Dorchester, to see what I saw, to live that life?" "Oh, here we go," Sam said, rolling his eyes. "The tough neighborhood story. We've all heard it." "Have you lived it?" Mark asked pointedly. "Have you ever wondered where your next meal was coming from? Have you ever had to fight just to survive?" Sam's face hardened. "We're not talking about my background. We're talking about yours. We're talking about your choices." "My choices as a teenager," Mark emphasized. "Not as an adult, as a kid who didn't know better." "That's convenient," Sam said, blaming it on being young. "I'm not blaming anything on anything," Mark said, his voice rising slightly. "I'm explaining context. There's a difference. But you don't want context. You want a villain." Robin cleared her throat loudly. "Sam, this really isn't the direction we discussed." Sometimes journalism means asking the hard questions, Robin, Sam said without looking at her, even when it makes people uncomfortable. This isn't journalism, Mark interjected. This is a character assassination. And there's a big difference between the two. George tried to interject. Sam, maybe we should talk about the film. That's why Mark is here. Is that why he's here, George? Sam said, his voice dripping with sarcasm. Or is he here because his studio paid for this segment? Because he needs us to help sell tickets? The accusation hung in the air like a bomb. Laura's eyes went wide. Robin put her hand to her forehead. This was spiraling out of control, and everyone knew it. Mark stood up. Not aggressively, but with purpose. Okay, he said. I think we're done here. Running away? Sam said, standing as well. That's your answer? Just walk off when someone asks you tough questions? Tough questions? Mark's voice rose slightly. You didn't invite me here for tough questions. You invited me here to ambush me on live television. There's a difference. I invited you here to have an honest conversation, Sam insisted. Mark shook his head slowly. An honest conversation doesn't start with accusations, Sam. Or an honest conversation doesn't begin with you already having made up your mind about someone. You decided who I was before I even walked through that door. I decided based on facts, Sam countered. Facts from 25 years ago, Mark said. Facts that I've never hidden from. Facts that I've talked about openly and honestly for decades. So what's your real agenda here? Sam's jaw tightened. My agenda is the truth. The truth? Mark let out a bitter laugh. The truth is that you wanted to make a name for yourself by going after me. The truth is that you thought you could make yourself look brave by attacking someone who came here to talk about a movie. I'm not attacking you, Sam said defensively. Then what do you call this? Mark gestured around the studio. What do you call starting an interview by bringing up someone's worst moments? What do you call trying to shame someone on national television? I call it holding people accountable, Sam said, but his voice wavered. No, Mark said firmly. You invited me here to make yourself look good by tearing me down, and I'm not going to sit here and let you do that. Sam's face flushed red. This is exactly what I'm talking about. You think you can just walk away from anything. You think the rules don't apply to you because you're famous. The rules? Mark laughed, but there was no humor in it. What rules are you talking about, Sam? The rule that says you get to be respectful to your guests? Because you're breaking that one pretty badly right now. Robin stood up, trying to restore order. Gentlemen, please, let's all just take a breath. But Sam wasn't done. You know what? Maybe you should leave. Maybe our viewers don't need to hear from someone who thinks they're above accountability. Above accountability? Mark's voice was incredulous now. I've been accountable. I've been honest about everything. But you don't actually care about that, do you? You just want your moment. You want to be the guy who took down Mark Wahlberg on morning TV. That's not what this is about, Sam said, but his voice wavered. Then what is it about? Mark demanded. Because from where I'm standing, it looks like you've got some kind of personal problem with me. Did I do something to you? Did I offend you somehow? You offend me by pretending to be this reformed good guy when we all know the truth, Sam said. George stood now too, his voice firm. Sam, that's enough. No, George, let him finish, Mark said. I want to hear this. I want to hear what the truth is, according to Sam Champion. Sam's hands were shaking slightly. He was in too deep now, and he knew it. The truth is that you're a product of a system that lets certain people get away with anything. You hurt people, Mark. Real people. And you got to become rich and famous anyway. And those people, Mark said, his voice controlled but intense. Have you talked to them, Sam? Have you asked them how they feel? Or are you just assuming you know what's best for everyone? I don't need to talk to them to know that what you did was wrong, Sam said. I never said it wasn't wrong, Mark replied. In fact, I've said the opposite. I've said it was wrong. I've said it publicly, privately, in interviews, in court, everywhere. But you're acting like I've been running from it, and that's just not true. Then why do you get to be a movie star? Sam challenged. Why do you get the happy ending? Happy ending? Mark's voice cracked slightly. You think this has been a happy ending? And you think I don't wake up every day thinking about the things I did? You think I don't carry that weight? Sam scoffed. Oh, please. You carry that weight all the way to the bank. The studio gasped. Even the camera operators shifted uncomfortably. Mark's expression went cold. And what about you, Sam? Mark's voice was quieter now, more controlled, which somehow made it more powerful. What system are you a product of? The one where you get to sit in judgment of everyone else? Where you get to decide who deserves forgiveness and who doesn't? I'm not judging you, Sam protested. Yes, you are, Mark said flatly. That's exactly what you're doing. You're sitting there in your chair, on your show, and you're judging me. You're deciding that nothing I've done since I was a teenager matters. You're deciding that I don't deserve a second chance. Everyone deserves a second chance, Sam said. But that doesn't mean we forget what happened. I'm not asking anyone to forget, Mark said, his frustration evident. I'm asking for basic human decency. I'm asking to be treated like a person who's tried to change, not like I'm still that kid from 30 years ago. Laura moved closer, as if she might need to physically intervene. The crew behind the cameras didn't know where to look. I'm holding you accountable, Sam said, but his conviction was crumbling. No, Mark said. You're grandstanding, and you're doing it at my expense because you think it'll make you look brave or righteous or whatever it is you're going for here. But all you're doing is showing everyone watching that you don't know the difference between journalism and a hit job. That's not fair, Sam said, his voice rising. I prepared for this interview. I did my research. Oh, you did your research? Mark said. Let me guess. You Googled my name, found some old articles, and decided you were going to be the one to finally take me down. Is that about right? I looked at your history, Sam said defensively. Your actual history. My history that I've never denied, Mark countered. My history that's been public knowledge for longer than some of our viewers have been alive. So what exactly did you think you were exposing here, Sam? What big revelation did you think you were bringing to light? Sam stammered. I thought people should be reminded. Reminded? Mark's eyebrows shot up. Reminded of what? That I wasn't perfect as a teenager? That I came from a tough background and made bad choices? Trust me, Sam, people know. I've talked about it in every major interview I've ever done. So this isn't about reminding anyone of anything. This is about you trying to score points. Laura tried to intervene. Maybe we can all take a step back here. No, Laura, Mark said, not unkindly. I appreciate what you're trying to do, but we're past that point. Sam made a choice when he started this interview. He chose confrontation over conversation. He chose attack over understanding. And now, we're here. Robin touched Sam's arm. Sam, please. Sam shook her off. Why are you all defending him? He's the one with the history. He's the one who should be answering for what he did. I have answered for it, Mark said, his patience clearly wearing thin. Over and over and over again. But you don't want answers. You want blood. I want the truth, Sam insisted. The truth? Mark stepped closer. The truth is that I was a kid who made terrible choices. The truth is that I've spent decades trying to make up for those choices. The truth is that I've raised my children to be better than I was. The truth is that I've donated millions to charities that help at-risk youth so they don't make the same mistakes I did. The truth is that I wake up every single day trying to be a better man than I was yesterday. That's the truth, Sam. But you don't want to hear that because it doesn't fit your narrative. The studio was dead silent. You could hear the faint hum of the cameras. the distant sound of traffic outside in Times Square. Sam's mouth opened, then closed. He had no response. "I came here in good faith," Mark continued. "I came here to talk about a movie that hundreds of people worked hard on, and people who are depending on this film to support their families. And you turned it into this. You made it about your ego." "It's not about my ego," Sam said weakly. "Then what's it about?" Mark asked again. "Because I'm still waiting for you to tell me." George stepped between them. "I think we need to go to commercial." "No," Mark said. "We're not going to commercial. I'm leaving. I'm not going to stand here and be disrespected by someone who's clearly got issues they need to work out." "Issues I need to work out?" Sam's voice rose again. "You're the one with the criminal record." The words hung in the air like poison. Mark's expression changed. The frustration gave way to something colder. "And there it is," he said quietly. "That's what this was really about. You wanted to say that on television. Well, you wanted that soundbite." "I'm just stating facts," Sam said, but he knew he'd crossed a line. "You're stating facts that everyone already knows," Mark said. "Facts that have been part of the public record for decades. So why bring them up now? Why make them the centerpiece of this interview? Unless..." He paused, studying Sam's face. "Unless this was never about the truth at all. This was about humiliation." "That's ridiculous," Sam protested. "Is it?" Mark challenged. "Because from where I'm standing, it looks like you planned this whole thing. You probably stayed up late last night rehearsing your questions, imagining how good it would feel to make me squirm on camera." Sam's face flushed deeper. "I was doing my job." "Your job is to interview guests, not to interrogate them like they're on trial," Mark shot back. "Your job is to make people feel welcome, not to make them feel attacked. Your job is to serve your viewers, not your ego." "My ego has nothing to do with this," Sam insisted. "Then what does it have to do with?" Mark demanded. "Explain it to me, Sam. Explain to me and everyone watching why you thought this was appropriate. Why you thought it was okay to treat a guest this way." Sam opened his mouth, then closed it. He looked to Robin, to George, to Lara, but they all looked away. "You can't, can you?" Mark said. "You can't explain it, because there is no explanation. You just wanted your moment. You wanted to be the tough interviewer who doesn't let celebrities off easy. But you forgot something important." "What's that?" Sam asked quietly. "You forgot that celebrities are people too," Mark said. "You forgot that behind the movies and the magazine covers, there's a human being who's made mistakes. Yes, but also a human being who's tried to learn from them. A human being who deserves at least a basic level of respect." "I wanted the truth," Sam repeated, but it sounded hollow now. "You wouldn't know the truth if it hit you in the face," Mark said. "The truth is that you're a bully hiding behind a microphone. The truth is that you ambushed me because you knew I'd have to be polite, that I'd have to sit here and take it because we're on live TV. But you miscalculated, Sam, because I'm not going to take it. I'm not going to sit here and let you use me to make yourself feel important." Sam's voice cracked. "I'm not trying to make myself feel important." "Then what are you trying to do?" Mark asked, spreading his hands. "Seriously, Sam, what was the goal here? What did you hope to accomplish?" "I wanted to have a real conversation," Sam said weakly. "A real conversation involves two people talking to each other, not one person attacking the other," Mark said. "A real conversation involves mutual respect. It involves listening. It involves trying to understand, not just trying to condemn." "I do understand," Sam said. "No, you don't," Mark said firmly. "If you understood, you wouldn't have done this. If you understood what it's like to carry the weight of your past mistakes, to try to be better every single day, to work toward redemption, you never would have started this interview the way you did." George put his hand on Sam's shoulder. "Sam, stop!" Please just stop. Laura finally spoke up. Mark, maybe we can all just calm down and restart this conversation. Mark looked at her, and his expression softened slightly. Laura, I appreciate that, but there's no restarting this. Sam made his choice. He decided what this interview was going to be before I even sat down. That's not true, Sam protested. Then why did you start with my past instead of my movie? Mark asked. Why did you go there in the first 30 seconds? You had an agenda, and you executed it. Congratulations. You got your moment. Robin tried one more time. Mark, we would love for you to stay. We can talk about the film. We can make this right. Mark shook his head. Robin, I respect you. I respect George. I respect Laura. But I can't stay on a set where one of the hosts thinks it's okay to treat guests this way. What kind of message does that send? The message it sends, Sam jumped in, is that celebrities don't get a free pass just because they're famous. A free pass? Mark's voice was incredulous. Do you think my life has been a free pass? Do you think it was easy growing up where I grew up, doing what I did, living with that guilt every single day? Do you think it's been easy having people like you remind me of my worst moments every chance you get? If you didn't want to be reminded, maybe you shouldn't have done those things, Sam said. And there it was. The line that couldn't be uncrossed. Mark took a deep breath. When he spoke again, his voice was steady. You know what, Sam? You're right. I shouldn't have done those things. I was wrong. I was a kid, but I was wrong. And I've spent my entire adult life trying to be better. But clearly, that's never going to be enough for people like you. People who need someone to look down on so they can feel superior. I don't need to feel superior, Sam said. Then why are you doing this? Mark asked. Why are you trying so hard to humiliate me? What do you get out of it? Sam had no answer. He stood there, mouth opening and closing like a fish out of water. That's what I thought, Mark said. He reached down and unclipped his microphone. The small gesture felt massive in the silence of the studio. I'm done here. Wait, Sam said, finding his voice again. You can't just leave. We're in the middle of a live broadcast. Watch me, Mark said, his voice calm but final. But the viewers, Sam protested. What about them? What about them? Mark echoed. You should have thought about the viewers before you decided to turn this into an ambush. You should have thought about them before you decided to prioritize your agenda over basic professionalism. Robin stepped forward, her eyes glistening. Mark, please, we can fix this. Mark's expression softened when he looked at her. Robin, you're a class act. You always have been, but you can't fix this. Sam broke something here today, and it can't be put back together with a commercial break and a reset. You can't just leave, Sam said, but it sounded more like pleading than demanding. Watch me, Mark replied. George put a hand on Mark's shoulder. Mark, I'm sorry about this. This isn't how we do things here. I know it's not, George, Mark said. That's why I'm only blaming one person. He looked directly at Sam as he said it. Sam's face had gone from red to pale. The reality of what he'd done was starting to sink in. I was just trying to have an honest conversation, he said quietly. No, Mark said. You were trying to have a takedown, and you failed, because the only person who looks bad here is you. Laura looked at the camera, unsure of what to do. The producers in the control room were probably screaming through the earpieces, but no one was listening. I've done hundreds of interviews, Mark said, addressing the camera now, speaking directly to the viewers at home. I've been asked tough questions before. I've had challenging conversations. But I've never been attacked like this. I've never had a host so clearly have it out for me from the moment I sat down. And I just want you all to know that I didn't come here looking for a fight. I came here to talk about a movie. That's it. He turned back to Sam. But you wanted something else, so you got it. I hope it was worth it. Robin had tears in her eyes. This was her show, her family, and it was falling apart on live television. Mark, she said softly. I'm so sorry. Don't apologize. Robin, Mark said gently. You didn't do anything wrong. None of you did. He looked pointedly at Sam. Except for one person. Sam stood there, his notes crumpled in his hand, his face a mask of confusion and regret. I should go, Mark said. Wait, Sam said suddenly. Just wait. Everyone turned to look at him. Sam started, then stopped. I think I made a mistake. You think? Mark said. I did make a mistake, Sam corrected himself. I shouldn't have started the interview that way. I should have been more professional. Should have is right, Mark said, but it's too late now. It doesn't have to be, Sam said. We can start over. We can do this right. Mark laughed, but it was sad. Sam, you can't unring a bell. You said what you said. You showed millions of people who you really are. And now I'm going to show them who I really am by walking away with my dignity intact. He started toward the exit. You're just going to run? Sam called after him, and the desperation in his voice was palpable. Mark stopped, turned around. I'm not running, Sam. I'm choosing not to participate in whatever this is. There's a difference. The difference is just semantics, Sam said. No, Mark said firmly. The difference is self-respect. Something you clearly don't have if you think this was an appropriate way to conduct an interview. George moved toward Sam. Sam, to stop talking. But Sam couldn't stop. He was spiraling. I was just doing my job, he said. Your job is to interview people, Mark said. Not to attack them. Not to prosecute them. Interview them. And you forgot that. I didn't forget anything, Sam said, but he sounded unsure. Then this is who you are, Mark said, and that's even sadder. Laura stepped forward. Mark, on behalf of everyone here at Good Morning America, I apologize. This is not who we are. I know it's not, Mark said kindly. That's why I feel bad for all of you. You have to work with this guy. The camera caught Sam's expression as those words hit him. It was like watching someone realize they'd just destroyed their own career. I think we need to cut to commercial, George said firmly. Good idea, Mark agreed. Give you all a chance to figure out what you're going to tell your producers. He looked at the main camera one more time. To everyone watching at home, I'm sorry you had to see this. I hope you still go see the movie. A lot of good people worked on it, and they deserve your support. And with that, he walked off the set. The cameras stayed on Sam, who stood there looking lost. Robin was crying quietly. George had his hand over his face. Laura was staring at the floor. We'll be right back, George finally said to the camera, his voice heavy. As they cut away, you could hear Sam's voice. On small and broken. I was just trying to do my job. But no one was listening anymore. The damage was done. Mark Wahlberg had walked off the set of Good Morning America, but he'd done it with his head held high. He'd refused to be bullied. He'd refused to participate in his own public humiliation. Sam Champion, on the other hand, had gotten exactly what he wanted, a dramatic moment on live television. But it hadn't played out the way he'd imagined. Instead of looking like a hard-hitting journalist, he looked like exactly what Mark had called him, a bully with a microphone. The other hosts stood there in the aftermath, trying to process what had just happened. Their show, their family, had just imploded on live television. Robin finally composed herself enough to speak. I don't know what to say, she told the darkened camera. Don't say anything, George advised. Let's just get through this. But Sam couldn't let it go. He didn't have to leave, he said. We could have worked it out. Sam, Laura said sharply. Stop. Just stop. I was trying to ask important questions, Sam continued, as if he hadn't heard her. You were trying to make yourself look important, Robin said, and there was an edge to her voice that none of them had heard before. And you used a guest to do it. That's not fair, Sam protested. Fair. George's voice was cold. You want to talk about fair? Was it fair to ambush Mark like that? Was it fair to attack him when he came here in good faith? I didn't attack him, Sam said. Yes, you did, all three of them said in unison. Sam looked at each of them, seeing the disappointment, the anger, the betrayal in their eyes. I thought I was doing the right thing, he said quietly. Then you thought wrong, Robin said. The commercial break was ending. They could hear the countdown in their earpieces. 10 seconds. 9. 8. What do we do? Laura whispered. We finish the show, George said. Professionally, and we deal with this later. 7. 6. 5. Sam stood there, still holding his crumpled notes, looking like a man who just realized he'd made the biggest mistake of his life. 4. 3. 2. Welcome back, Robin said to the camera, her professional smile firmly in place. So we're going to take a quick break from our scheduled programming to bring you a special weather update. And just like that, they moved on. But everyone watching knew that nothing would ever be quite the same. The moment was over, but the fallout was just beginning. Mark Wahlberg had left the building, but his words hung in the air, a reminder that sometimes the bravest thing you can do is walk away. Sometimes standing up for yourself means refusing to participate in your own humiliation. And sometimes the real power move is knowing when you've had enough. Sam Champion had wanted his moment. He'd gotten it, just not the way he'd planned. The lesson was clear. When you come for someone with cameras rolling, you better be sure you're on the right side. Because if you're not, the whole world is going to know it. And there's no commercial break long enough to erase that kind of mistake.